We go to Emir and are shown another of the Ciri lives or dies options. This is probably the most logical of the live or die options. If you were to accept, Ciri feels as though she was just a contract to be collected.
Are you sure? Never again would you need to stalk monsters while wading through sewage.
I'm sure.
I understand. Honor prevents you from accepting coin. In that case, a stallion, a thoroughbred Nilfgaardian, awaits you in the stables. Treat it as an expression of my gratitude.
Damn it, I know I said that Emir wasn't much of a character, but I just love this guy. He's so fucking cool. I just wish Geralt wasn't an asshole toward him. We let Ciri and Emir talk while we wait in the main hall.
White Wolf, good to see you.
Greetings, General.
You had no trouble crossing the Pontar, I trust.
None.
I take it you crossed via the ford near Banglin? It's fortunate you did not choose to ride through Rind, a troubled region still. Radovid seeks to breach the front in the west. But he'll not succeed. Not before the princess becomes empress and we bring order to the area.
Of course.
While we're on the subject, how is our future ruler? Must admit I'm curious how she'll react when she hears the throne will be hers. I venture to say she'll be delighted.
You never know.
Yes, of course, she is tactful, not one to celebrate an offer not yet made. But this is not the kind of offer one refuses.
Indeed.
Hey Geralt, you see this? This is General Voris carrying the conversation.
Give birth to such stories. The prodigal daughter of the most powerful ruler in the continent's history returns on the eve of his final triumph to embrace her inheritance. Simpletons adore such stories as they do the princesses, ever beautiful and delicate while the...
Geralt, we're leaving.
So nice to see you, my lady.
Likewise. Time we were on our way.
A shame you can't stay. I hope to continue this on another occasion.
That makes one of us.
What a bitch! You know, I gotta wonder, does this monarchy really need to be hereditary? I feel like there would be a lot of people who are better suited to rule. Anyway, we make our way to Velen and up the mountains.
We've no time to lose. I'll tend to Imlerith, you take the crones.
What?
No chance. I'm going after Imlerith.
Now hold on. Why the hell are we splitting up? Why are you sending this big-headed buffoon to fight 3 high-level witches? You should both be fighting Imlerith. The big bastard barely broke a sweat at Kaer Morhen, and that was after fighting in the woods, breaking through a hole in a big old portcullis, and then manhandling a master witcher like it was nothing. And you're sending Ciri to fight the 3 crones? Geralt wouldn't even fight them himself when he had the chance earlier. What did he say to the Baron again?
Venturing into the swamp, even with armed men, is just a bad idea. It's a dangerous place inherently, and I think those crones are a greater threat than anyone realizes.
Apparently not if we're just going to have Ciri fight them. All by herself. You do realize that because you didn't fight them when you first met, the Baron's wife ends up dead, or the orphans end up eaten.
Fine, let's play for it. Rock, paper, scissors.
Oh yeah, we're probably going to our deaths. We're fighting powerful enemies, but look how cute we are together. Fuck you. So Ciri goes and kills the crones like it's nothing. Look at her. She's not even short of breath. One of them escapes and takes Ciri's amulet. Meanwhile, Geralt fights Imlerith. Hang on, did he just teleport? If he can do that, then why did he waste so much time hitting the gate at Kaer Morhen? He could have just teleported to the lever and flipped it back. Or turned the wheel thingy. However the gate works. Whatever, the writers didn't give a shit, so why should I? Good to see that armor is still fucking useless.
Who taught you to fight like this?
The Witcher you slew.
What the hell? Why are you still holding him? When you have your hands wrapped around someone's neck and they blast fire in your face, wouldn't you do something to stop it? It's like 5 whole seconds of this, dude, come on. Okay, if the fire was hot enough to melt his face, he absolutely would have dropped Geralt immediately. Damn, that was actually a pretty brutal kill.
We did it.
Barely.
Like I said, the two of you fucks should have stuck together.
The third fled. With Vesemir's medallion. My sole memento.
We were lucky? Yeah, no shit.
I knew we'd succeed. From the start.
Yeah, that's part of the problem. You can do any stupid shit, make any stupid tactical decision, and you will succeed. Because there are barely any stakes holding up your tent.
Now to find Eredin and kill him.
I'm certain that finding him will be the only difficult part.
For your thoughts?
Wondering what to tell Yennefer when we get to Novigrad.
Tell her to stay the fuck out of my business and my life. You know what? Screw it, we're jumping ahead. We get to Novigrad, and I go to see Avalok. He has a plan to reduce the Wild Hunt's reinforcements. That involves teleporting to the Wild Hunt's kingdom and talking to a dude that has political power or something. I'm sure it makes sense or whatever, I just don't care enough about it at this point. We travel across multiple worlds, times, and universes. We eventually get a neat little scene where Avalok explains how Geralt ended up with amnesia outside of Kaer Morhen in the first game.
Many times, but I don't remember a thing.
Ciri came for you. She sensed you were in danger, tore you from the Hunt's grasp, then deposited you in the woods near Kaer Morhen.
Did Eredin start hunting her because of that? Because of me? Why didn't she say anything?
What would it have changed?
Well, I mean, it would have been nice to know, have the whole story and such.
Alas, this awaits us all, though at differing stages of our existence.
So calm when you say that.
Eredin succumbed to his knowledge of the apocalypse. Fear rules him now. I'll not commit the same error.
So, Eredin wants Ciri's power to learn how to stop the White Frost? I'm just guessing that's what Avalok is saying. But it's pretty much the only motivation for Eredin to get Ciri. Aside from just having power, I guess. Anyway, we make it to the place and talk to the guy and get him to have a dream with us. Hey look, you can use the Dream Lady a second time. We see a vision of Eredin poisoning the last king, and the guy says that he will withhold Eredin's reinforcements. Next up, we have to help Ciri repay some people for helping or impeding her. First, she wants to go and kill Whoreson Jr. Since we already killed him, we find that Duty has assumed his identity and taken the business in a more legitimate direction. Now, if you don't kill Whoreson, this mission will have you find him in an alley, harassed by children and living in filth. Ciri considers this a just punishment and leaves him in the alley. Personally, I would have liked the option to show mercy and forgiveness. You know, show yourself the bigger person and help a downtrodden criminal in hopes of reforming him. But nah, mercy is for the weak, my dudes. Next, we go to a friend of Ciri's, but she's in some trouble. Oh look, 2 options that are basically the fucking same. Dialogue options. Anyway, we scare him off and give the chick money or some shit. Then we go to some carnies and pay them back as well. Ciri and Geralt sit by a fire in their camp and talk about girls.
Worked out nicely, don't you think?
What are you talking about?
You and Triss. Never expected it, to be honest.
Life's full of surprises.
So, how did the two of you...
End up together? With Yen, it was fight after fight. Lots of arguments, drama. Not saying it was bad, but...
Geralt, you're in fucking denial. Yen treats you like shit and doesn't respect you. Stop simping for her. It was bad. Anyway, a short while later, a carny approaches and mentions that they could use some more help. They need horses, but the guy that they want to buy them from is not a fan of carnies, and has refused to extend his service to them. The carny wants us to help steal the horses from the stable, and Ciri proclaims, "Of course!" Hey kids, it's time for a lesson in ethics. Stealing is bad, okay? First off, why don't we go buy the horses for the carnies? Hey look, there is an option for that. Corduroy Face here says that the merchant specifically won't sell if the carnies are the ones getting the horses. Do we have to tell him? For all we know, I'm just a witcher in need of horses. Or we could get Dandelion to buy them for us. So many options, and yet so few options. Secondly, the merchant has no obligation to sell his property to anyone. Oh, what's that? He's a bigot? I don't give a fuck. You will not convince me that theft is justified because the merchant is unwilling to trade with you. Do you think that once his horses are stolen, the merchant will have a change of perspective? No! If anything, you will be proving him right. What makes this so much worse is that the game is trying to pass this off as the correct action. Ciri agrees to it immediately, and then we are given the option to agree or refuse. If we refuse, this asshole actually attacks us, and once we kick his carny ass, Ciri gets mad at us for defending ourselves, which makes this another choice that will eventually lead to her death.
Doesn't seem like the best idea.
Geralt, stop fussing. We'll not strip the merchant bare.
Well, that totally justifies it now, doesn't it? I'm beginning to really turn against Ciri.
None of this concerns us.
This does concern me. These are my friends.
They'll manage on their own.
If Ciri wishes to ride with us, she should. She's not your property.
Motherfucker! The horses are not your property! Don't fucking shrug at me, Ciri. This faggot did not make a good point.
I won't let her risk her neck for thieves.
What is this? Have you gone mad? We were to revel, not to punch each other to a pulp.
What a falling out with Ciri's companion.
Ciri, much as I hate to say it, I think it's time the two of you left.
I know. The magic's gone. Sorry. I'm going down to the riverside. Want to take a walk, be alone for a bit.
Sorry for that.
You've no need to apologize for acting according to your nature.
Fuck you, Cirilla. What a horrible thing to say to Geralt. I chose the right thing. You will not make me feel bad for it. If this were some type of satire, then maybe it would work, but that is absolutely not the intention. Fuck it. We're moving past this now and doing Yennefer's quest. So Yennefer needs our help to rescue one of the Lodge Witches out of jail. Geralt makes his way there through underground passages, and then uses a magical thingy to alert Yen to his location. We find her witch friend along with Shile the Tanzerville, an antagonist from the second game. Both are in bad shape, but Shile is much worse. We need a key to open the cell, so Geralt goes out and kills all of the guards, and then gets the key from the warden. If it is this easy to raid a prison, then why did we go through all that shit with Dandelion? Shile wants us to kill her and end her suffering. Now, when it comes to torture victims, I imagine most of them would wish for death. But even though she tried to kill me, I did spare her life, so in a way this is my fault. Given that this is a world where we can use magic to heal people, we should at least try to help her, right? Nope! If you don't kill her, Yen will. And thus ends another of the amazing decision carryovers from the second game. I am disappointed.
I can't pass through the portal with you both. You'll need to get out on your own.
Why don't you take her, come back, and then take me? Are you running low on mana from constantly reading my mind, or are you really just that lazy? Anyway, next up is Triss's quest. She needs our help to find Philippa Eilhart. We track her to Dijkstra's bathhouse, where she has managed to cause some trouble. You see, Zoltan's pet owl was really Philippa in disguise, and another mage had put a special chain around her leg or something, which kept her from being able to transform. The mage was arrested for being a mage, and the owl was sold at an auction. Zoltan bought it and then lost it in a card game with Dijkstra. It's kind of a coincidence, but I am willing to let it slide. Having Philippa be stuck as an owl is a good way to sideline her until now. Anyway, someone took off the chain that was keeping her an owl, and now she's wrecking the place. I don't know why she hasn't teleported out of here yet. She clearly has no trouble using magic right now. She then mind controls some of Dijkstra's men to fight for her. After all, Geralt can mind control people with Axie-Hex, and Philippa is clearly more powerful than him. We eventually catch up with her and convince her to help us. Dijkstra wants to kick her ass, but we convince him to let her go by telling him about Ciri. I find it strange that he would know that I was working for Emhyr, but not about Ciri. After all, most of Emhyr's court knows at this point. Dijkstra also mentions that the plan to kill Radovid has been scrapped. Philippa says that she is willing to be the bait to trap Radovid.
You didn't actually believe you could do it. Radovid's crazy, but he's no idiot. Knows all too well there are dozens out there who'd...
Silence.
Do I understand you correctly? You want to kill Radovid? Well, Siggy, I am impressed. Doubted you still had it in you, frankly. Sadly, as you well know, Radovid has sought refuge on his boat. He's guarded so closely, I'd not be at all surprised to learn he shares his bed each night with 2 sentries.
You know too much, Phil. Yet one more reason why you must die.
Think you might want to hear her out. Dare say Philippa despises Radovid at least as much as you do.
I'm content someone apart from myself has finally gotten the idea to rid the world of the degenerate.
Save your praise for others. I couldn't give a shit.
Currently, only 2 individuals stand to draw Radovid off his boat. Emhyr and myself.
You'd agree to be the bait?
I fear you'd be hard-pressed to convince Emhyr to dangle himself as such.
Fat fucking chance. Geralt, I wouldn't trust this cunt to hard-boil my eggs.
Neither do I, especially after she tried to kill me with a dragon. But she has a point here. Dijkstra is not having it, but he decides to continue the plan with at least Geralt's help. We go to a warehouse and make a plot with the guys. We leave the warehouse, but Philippa confronts us.
Philippa? What the hell are you doing here?
Geralt, don't ask questions you know the answers to. It makes you look stupid. Eavesdropping on your conversation, naturally, with a good deal of interest, and a measure of wonder.
Mind telling me what you found puzzling?
Your naivety. Do you honestly believe Radovid will fall for such a crude ruse?
Might be tough to trick, but I think I'll manage.
I hope you take a more serious approach to confronting the Wild Hunt.
Philippa. The Wild Hunt walked right past me as an ice sculpture and didn't even bother to so much as fart in my face. They are a joke. And the stakes for our fight with them are loose at best. Anyway, Philippa gives us a ring that will convince Radovid that we know her location. We take it to him, and he decides to follow us to her location. He then says something that I find interesting.
All witnesses. Damian, Duke, Egbert, Freak, Caspar. You shall stay here, secure the rear, and kill the Witcher.
This how you reward those who serve you?
It is how I punish those who irritate me. You know too much. You impede me too often. And I find your arrogance an annoyance. I've had men killed for less.
You see, Geralt, if you had been more respectful towards these crazy kings and emperors, then maybe you wouldn't be in this situation. The soldiers get ready to execute us, but they take too long and wind up getting killed by the blue stripes. We chase Radovid down the alley, and then Philippa shows up and kills him. From clever schemer to vengeful idiot. Farewell, Radovid. You were a disappointment. After all of that, we get together with the plotters for a celebration, but Dijkstra has a surprising announcement.
Geralt, what Tala told you, put it out of your mind. There will be no truce with Nilfgaard. Redania, under my enlightened rule, will fight on until it wins. And when it does, it will unite all the North, including Temeria.
What? How? This is not what we planned and agreed.
True. Instead, we insisted on one realm's questionable sovereignty. And to recover it, we gave Emir virtually all the North's other kingdoms. It was not a wise arrangement. So, no deal.
You two-faced horseman. I will not allow this.
Actually, you, Roach, should be the first to understand I've no choice.
Why the hell would I understand?
Because you too are a patriot. Geralt, this doesn't concern you. You may go. Fare thee well on your path, or whatnot.
I actually find it insulting that this is even a choice. You can't even try to save Chile, but you can let Roach, Vess, and Taller die? If you choose to walk away, then Dijkstra will lead the North to victory and drive out the southern invaders. If you stay and fight, then Temeria will become a vassal state under Nilfgaard. Although I like Dijkstra, I like each of the others more. That, and I myself am a Temerian patriot. Now that we are done with plots and assassinations, we return to the witches to get their input. Okay, so now it's time to talk about the Lodge of Sorceresses. I do not trust these cunts. They have a penchant for plotting and scheming, and they like to exert control over the northern kingdoms whenever they feel it is justified. They are in part responsible for a number of assassinations, the invasion from the south, and the distrust and persecution of mages throughout the north. I say all of this because of what happens next in the story. This is another point where you are presented with two choices that may or may not lead to Ciri's death. If you let her go alone, which is something that is ill-advised given the history of the Lodge, she will live. Going with her means that she dies. Ciri is neither very old nor all that wise. The Lodge could easily manipulate her with only a short conversation. Having Geralt, or hell, even Yennefer present is not only advisable, it should almost be required. I once read a comment that said having Ciri go in alone is a way for her to build up confidence. Honestly, it is much better to confide in someone who cares about you in this situation. I would have thought that Geralt of all people would know the difference between running with wolves and playing with snakes. Ciri does not strike me as being overly bright. Philippa, on the other hand, is smart enough to plot assassinations and take control of freaking dragons. Correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't dragons really intelligent in the world of The Witcher? Saskia seemed to have a good head on her.
Rita won't hurt her, but Philippa, she can be ruthless.
Ciri's been in tougher situations and come out of them all right.
True. We managed to instill some principles.
Principles, huh? I'm gonna take a guess and say that don't steal shit wasn't one of those principles. Yen takes a peek at the conversation and says that Ciri seems to be doing quite well. Which, why wouldn't she? Doing the thing that makes the least sense has worked out pretty well for her so far. Once she's done with her conversation, she comes out and says that she doesn't want to discuss it presently, even though it's almost a guarantee that they want her to join the lodge. For now, we move on to Skellige once again. When we arrive, we have more busy work to do. We help Ermion with something, get the Sunstone, and collect a mage from Emir. Emir is currently preparing to invade the Isles. I find the timing to be kind of convenient, but not as convenient as Emir bringing the mage with him. She must have been in prison long before this raid began, and for some reason she was brought along? Did they plan to use her during the attack somehow? I honestly feel like you could have left the Empire out of this section entirely. Their role could have easily been filled by Croc's army. Plus, I don't know why Emir came on this trip. He's on his way to becoming Emperor of the North and he decides to join an invasion on some islands? Maybe he just really likes invading places. Anyway, after the busy work is done, Ciri tells us that Avallac'h has a laboratory somewhere on the Isles. She is suspicious of him, even though earlier she seemed to suggest that she had the utmost of faith in him, but whatever. We go to his lab and find a picture thing that shows the lineage of people with the Elder Blood. Apparently, Avallac'h was trying to find a way to create a pure elven Elder Blood person. There is also some chick that talks smack to Ciri. I'm guessing that she's like Avallac'h's pincushion or something. I also gotta wonder why Avallac'h didn't teleport here after taking Ciri to the Isle of Mists. He has someone here to take care of him, and probably some equipment to help with removing curses as well. Or leastways, better equipment than one would find on the shores of Hindersfjall, or Crow's Perch. Not to mention that his lab is just north of the place we go to find Ciri. Seems like an obvious choice, really. Anyway, Ciri is upset because of what Snooty said, and admits that she wants to level the place.
If he hates me so deeply, why didn't he tell me to my face?
Ciri, you didn't actually believe her, did you? She's personally involved in the matter, that's clear.
What of it? If they despise me so, they should leave me be.
Ciri.
What? Do you fear I'll level this place like I did Kaer Morhen? Shame I can't do that at will, because I'd really like to now.
So let me get this straight. Some smarmy elven chick said something mean, so now you want to break Avallac'h's stuff? We currently have no context for this situation. For all we know, that chick is just a jealous girlfriend. We don't know why Avallac'h is doing his research, and we haven't even confronted him about it. He could be doing it genuinely to help Ciri. He has already risked his life for her, and he has devoted much of his time to training her. I don't think he is a bad guy. So my response to Ciri would naturally be to calm down. But here's the thing, that would be the wrong choice. If you tell her to calm down, that is one point toward her death. The correct option is to let her smash stuff like a fucking child having a happy tantrum. The correct option for these live or die choices is usually to just let Ciri have her way. Do any of the writers have kids? My honest approach to this would be to train her to keep her emotions in check, to tell her the truth even when it hurts, and to be a good and moral person. The game tells me that I should forgo these lessons and instead let the impulses take control. This is why I cannot take Ciri's story seriously. Her life or death is dependent upon these timed choices, and it is much easier to argue in favor of the choices that lead to her death. Anyway, after breaking Avallac'h's stuff and having a laugh about it, we go to Hindersfjall and find and bury Skjall. This is one choice where I can actually see why not going with her would be a bad thing that leads to her death. So we bury the poor sod and then head back to our ship. We could begin the final fight now, but there is one more conversation to have with Yennefer.
Yen, can we talk?
Why? So you can ask me if we can remain friends despite all?
No, I mean...
Come now, Geralt. I know you. Well enough to know exactly what's going on with you and Triss. Now, I cannot say I'm not tempted to, intervene, but I believe I'll let it lie this time.
This time? What does that mean? I don't think it is wrong of me to presume that Yennefer still wants Geralt, and that she may even try to play the homewrecker when the time comes.
How about that? You came here to fumble your way through an explanation, yet instead of enjoying the show, I went and did your job for you.
Seems so.
Fuck you, Geralt. And Yennefer, go fuck yourself. I am going to harp on this one last time. You treat Geralt like shit. You treat the people around you like shit. You are overwhelmingly selfish to the point where you save the easy shit until after you have caused everyone else to be heavily inconvenienced. I hope I never see you again. And if you try to slither your way between Geralt and Triss, I hope I get the option to stab you in the face. Let's get this over with. We used the Sunstone to summon the Wild Hunt. The witches used their magic to keep them from retreating or something. Geralt ends up frozen again, so Ciri has to teleport in and kill a bunch of them, and does so with ease. She then fights the mage responsible for the freezing and ends up breaking his staff. This causes Geralt to unfreeze, but Ciri teleports away because of injuries. Geralt then fights the mage and ends up killing him, but not before the mage teleports Geralt several meters underwater. Okay, let's go through the problems with this. First off, all of those sorcerers are keeping the Wild Hunt from retreating, yes? Then why would Geralt travel into the Wild Hunt's location? If no one is stopping the Wild Hunt from casting their freezing spell, this would make Geralt and company easy targets for freezing and then killing. Everyone should know that freezing is a possibility due to what happened at Kaer Morhen, and yet no one is doing anything to prevent it. Why doesn't Yen do her pole thingy again? You know that your enemy has this freezing tactic and you do nothing to prevent it. My guess is that they did this so that once again Ciri would have to intervene. You see, most everyone agreed that Ciri should stay out of the battle, for reasons that should be obvious given what we know about Ciri. She protests and gets salty because she wants to fight. If you really want a scenario where Ciri has to teleport in to save Geralt, don't make everyone else look stupid in the process. Secondly, why does the mage not teleport away when Ciri arrives? He does it at Kaer Morhen, but not here for some reason. He can teleport during and after the fight, so why does he expose himself like this with no one to support him? He is also the one keeping the frost spell going, so again, why expose yourself like this? And finally, there is the fact that he can teleport people by touching them. Why did he not use this at Kaer Morhen? It is an incredibly useful skill. He could have grabbed Ciri and teleported her somewhere advantageous. Or he could have teleported to Yen while she was doing her staff thing and killed her. Anyway, we swim to the surface and see Ciri lying on some ice. She stumbles to her feet and then teleports away. Meanwhile, the Skelligans have joined the battle. We run to the Wild Hunt ship and arrive just in time to watch Croc get the axe. This disappoints me because I actually like Croc. Oh well. Now it's time for the big boss battle. Hey, look at that. He can pull you through a teleport that he creates. Too bad he decided not to use that when he had his hands on Ciri. Anyway, this battle is pretty underwhelming. There is nothing you do here that you wouldn't do with most enemies. Maybe he could have teleported us to a cooler location or something? Anyway, we slice his throat and then he tells us something. Because having a throat is not necessary for speaking, apparently. And that is the end of Eredin, King of the Wild Hunt. What a fucking letdown. This game is called The Wild Hunt. It should have been called The Scavenger Hunt. The Wild Hunt was barely in this game. Furthermore, the main villain has less time here than his shade did in the first game. And on top of all that, I know more about Eredin's compadres than I do him. I barely know his motivations, his plans, his philosophy, or really anything. The most I could probably say is that he wants power. Let us compare with the Grandmaster from the first Witcher game. Jacques de Aldersberg is a man who has seen into the future. He has witnessed the White Frost and the devastation it will bring. How do I know this? Well, because he tells me. Aldersberg believes that in order to prevent the certain extinction of humanity, drastic measures must be taken. He must take control of the Order of the Flaming Rose and use their established influence to make everyone prepare for the coming apocalypse. He uses the stolen secrets of the Witchers to create mutants that will do his bidding and facilitate the protection of mankind. He tells you all of this because he wants to convince you. He wants you to understand. He even goes as far as to teleport you into a vision of the future, so that you can see the effects of the White Frost firsthand. He fully believes that his evil actions are justified because of this. Why exactly does Aroden want Ciri? Avallac'h says that he wants power, and that he fears the White Frost. That is all we get. I don't know how Aroden intends to use this power. I don't know if he intends to do anything about the White Frost. I don't know his motivations. Does he seek glory, or does he want to protect his people? The reason I am harping on this is because the Wild Hunt has been a looming threat ever since the first game, and they are easily the least interesting villains in the series. Even Letho had a well-detailed explanation for why he did what he did. Now maybe some of you out there would point me to the book, and tell me that Aroden's motivations are explained better there. And yes, you would be right, but it's not in this game, so it doesn't count. Actually, you know what, let me explain briefly Aroden's story in the books. You see, the plan was to have the king before him mate with Ciri so that they could have an elven elder blood child. The problem was that the previous king was becoming increasingly apathetic toward his position, and he was so disgusted by humans in general that he could not get it up for Ciri. This caused Avallac'h and Aroden to devise a plan to give the former king an aphrodisiac. Aroden, however, had grown tired of the king's apathy toward his people, so he decided to give the king an overdose of the aphrodisiac, thus killing him. This is actually a more interesting backstory than what we are given in the game. You could actually argue that Aroden is sort of doing the right thing here to help his people, because as I said, the former king had been growing apathetic toward his position. Having Aroden explain why he did this, and making it so that he did it because he wanted to stop the White Frost, would have made it much more interesting. But none of that is in the game, so as I said, it doesn't count. And that is actually a big part of the problem I have with this game. You are almost required to read the book in order to understand a lot of the things going on here. I don't recall it being that necessary in the first or the second game. Maybe to a small extent, but not to the point where I don't even know what's going on at times. But now that I have covered that, it is time to move on to the actual finale. Yennefer teleports us away from the ship, and we see that something is going on at the ruined tower over yonder. So Avallac'h has opened the portal between worlds, which is causing all manner of monster to appear, and fireballs to fall from the sky. We make our way to the tower, but it is surrounded by a shield of some kind. Yennefer helps us through, but can't get through herself. We make our way to the tower and confront Avallac'h.
Where's Ciri?
Nearby. Listen.
Shut up. I've heard enough of your bullshit. Draw your weapon. Let's get this over with. Think I'm willing to spare you?
I think you will not attack one unarmed.
Wouldn't be so sure. I'm in a foul mood.
I am not your foe. I am merely helping Cirilla.
I don't believe you. Can't. Not after all that's happened.
Will you believe me? Avallac'h speaks the truth. I asked him to help me open the tower, because I aim to enter it.
Didn't think it worthwhile to tell me? Warn me of your plans?
I'm sorry, I know I should have. But I feared you'd not understand.
Feels like I'm talking to Yennefer. Leave with me, please.
I will go. Once I emerge from the tower. If I emerge.
Why the hell would you do this? The Wild Hunt's been defeated.
The White Frost has not. The prophecies are true. I have seen worlds bound in ice. I know what awaits you. Only the Elder Blood can stop the White Frost. Only I can stop it.
Do these choices lead to different outcomes or just different dialogue?
You don't have to make this sacrifice.
You're wrong. The White Frost is inevitable. It will come to freeze the worlds one after the other, eradicating all life. Only I can stop the destruction. I've given it much thought and made my decision.
There's gotta be another way.
What can you know about saving the world, silly? You're but a witcher.
Excuse me? I imagine this is meant to be endearing or something, but what the fuck do you know about saving the world? Is this routine for you? Geralt has been instrumental in saving significant parts of the world several times, killing the Grand Master, revealing assassination plots, and overthrowing maniacal dictators are the clearest examples. I'm sure he could imagine ways in which to save the world, if he had to do so. From what I know about you, your best skills are running and hiding. So, fuck off, Ciri.
This is my story, not yours. You must let me finish telling it.
Ciri, you have barely done anything this entire game. Geralt was the one who found Uma and removed his curse. He was the one who hunted you down and prepared for your arrival at Kaer Morhen. He was the one who killed all the high-ranking members of the Wild Hunt, including their king. He was the one that did all the legwork after we left Kaer Morhen. She couldn't even finish off all 3 witches, and all of your work was not even half finished when I got to it. And now you're telling me that it's not Geralt's story? Let me try to be fair. Maybe she is referring specifically to the White Frost, but her phrasing is so poor if that is the case. A better way to say it would be, "You have done enough. It is time for my story to begin." Because this is the only thing she can do that is more significant than everything Geralt has accomplished. None of these options make a difference. She will go through the portal regardless. So good luck, I guess.
Perhaps I should have told you. I see now you might have understood.
The only thing I understand is that you won't listen to anyone, and will succeed by doing whatever the fuck you want. But right now, I'm gonna tell you what I think, regardless of that fact. First off, why the fuck are you doing this now? Last time we saw you, you were stumbling around on an ice block. You have barely mastered your full potential, and most importantly, doing this thing right now has put the lives of everyone who cares about you in jeopardy. There are hundreds of fireballs and monsters falling from the sky. You should have waited until we were all far away on the mainland to do this, when you had a better grasp of your powers and were at full energy. Doing this right after the battle, while there are injured and tired people everywhere, is such a cunt move. Yes, you, Ciri, are a cunt for doing things like this. Furthermore, I don't understand this whole traveling forward in time thing. Can you travel anywhere in time? If the White Frost is just an ice age or something, can't you just adjust the weather right now and cancel it out somehow? Maybe if the White Frost was actually explained as a magical entity or a world eater like Galactus from Marvel? But again, I don't really know anything about this White Frost, aside from that it's cold and it destroys the world. I'm going to be frank here, the White Frost should have had its own game. The Witcher 4, The White Frost. That would have been an awesome title for one, and you could have made a whole game about learning how to destroy it. You could have even made it an impending threat throughout the game, or even given it a personality or something. I personally feel like this ending was tacked on, and that it was a wasted opportunity for a sequel. But I should move on now. Ciri goes into the portal, and depending on your choices with her, she will either die or live. The death option results in Geralt hunting down the last crone and killing it in order to retrieve the medallion it took from Ciri. I'm not sure how this would in any way bring closure, because the medallion was actually Vesemir's. It has no significance in relation to Ciri outside of the fact that she valued it. But maybe he just thought that retrieving it would set her spirit at ease or something. In either case, I find it humorous that this is yet another example of Geralt finishing Ciri's work. There is also the implication that Geralt dies in this ending as well, because mourning Ciri means that you should put yourself in a certain death situation for some reason. You would still have Triss, or God forbid, Yennefer. You could still find happiness even if Ciri is dead. But nah, if Ciri dies, Geralt has to as well. Now for the good endings. Both of these rely on you picking the right option in the arbitrary choices, as well as whether or not you take Ciri to see Emhyr in Vizima. If you take her to see Emhyr, you get the ending where she ends up as the Empress of Nilfgaard. For a time, I considered this to be the better ending, because I figured that Ciri could do more good for the world in this position. But after analyzing her asinine behavior and disrespectful attitude, I don't think she should ever be in a position of power. Now, if you didn't take her to Emhyr, you get the other good ending. This ending has Geralt lie to Emhyr about Ciri's death.
How did it happen?
The White Cold. You're familiar with the prophecy? Ciri tried to stop it. She did, but paid the ultimate price.
Where is the body?
I doubt it'll ever be found.
Who else knows?
Avalach, Elven Sage. But I doubt you'll find him either.
And Yennefer?
She's decided to stay in the north. Provided you don't object.
I don't. And you?
That's none of your business. Not anymore.
So, Geralt, let me point something out to you. The Emperor here hired you to rescue his daughter and bring her to him. Not only did you never do the latter in this ending, but you are currently telling him that you failed to protect her as well. You are lucky that he doesn't take your head for this, and now you are telling him that what you do is none of his business. The correct way to phrase this would be, "With respect, your majesty, that is no longer any of your business," or something to that effect.
Did Cirilla say... Did she ask you to convey anything?
You weren't a good father. Ciri saw you as a threat. Even if she'd asked me to tell you something, I doubt you'd have liked to hear those words.
I find this option to be very unfair to Emhyr. For one thing, Geralt was the one who invoked the Law of Surprise, which meant that Emhyr would have to give up the chance to be a good father. Second, getting this ending means that Geralt never gave Emhyr the opportunity to smooth things over with Cirilla. Plus, for all we know, Geralt is making this up, which means that he could be passing judgment while also withholding Emhyr's chance at redemption, which is a real shitty thing to do if that is the case. Honestly, I really think that Emhyr is upset by everything Geralt told him, as if he truly regrets not getting his daughter back. Anyway, Geralt travels to White Orchard and meets up with Ciri. He presents her with a silver sword all her own, and she presumably spends her days on the path, plying the Witcher trade. Which is dumb. First off, she has none of the Witcher mutagens, which means that she will be less effective at tracking, unable to drink potions, and will lack the reflexes of a Witcher. Maybe she could use magic to defeat them, but that is only one of a Witcher's skills. She would just be a sort of freelance monster hunter as opposed to a Witcheress. And finally, do you really think that Emhyr won't find out about this? This is especially bad if you killed Radovid, because that means that Emhyr controls the north. His spies and soldiers would be present across the northern kingdoms, and a female Witcher with ashen hair would eventually be in their reports. Some of them probably even saw her in person during the fight with the Wild Hunt. So what do you think Emhyr will do when he finds out that Geralt lied to him? I imagine that by the time he was done, Geralt wouldn't even be able to say his smarmy shit anymore. This is why I consider taking Ciri to Emhyr to be the definitive ending, even though I don't think she would make a good ruler. It makes more sense than the other option. So, that is virtually the entire story, and I kind of hate it. There is a lot of good in it, don't get me wrong, but the bad is piled up right along with it. And good things can easily be brought down when surrounded by shit. Magic in the game is the biggest offender. Powers are used arbitrarily and often ignored when they could be most useful. The main characters are often stupid or selfish, to the point where I don't even want to spend time with some of them. I have been explicit with what I think of Ciri and Yen, but Geralt is his own brand of frustrating. His unprompted sarcasm and occasional rude behavior, especially in regards to Nilfgaardians, make it hard for me to see him as likable. Plus he does a lot of simping for Yen, and Ciri needs to learn some empathy. I also find it odd how he is supposed to be stripped of emotion, but very clearly expresses emotion throughout the game. This is especially noticeable when he interacts with Ciri, laughing, looking sad or concerned, looking longingly at Yen or Triss. I understand that he might have some of these to make him more relatable, but it should have been toned back more if we are going for the idea of an emotionless killing machine. I think that there was a good story outline here, but the execution was a mess. My quickly cobbled together solution would be to first take out Uma, then make the Wild Hunt a more present threat. We start off by going to the village in Velen, and instead of arriving after the hunt, we get there while they are still raiding. We have a fight with Eredin and we end up losing, and he exposes some things that give him more personality. We are then rescued by the Baron and his men, while the hunt leaves out of caution more than anything else. The Baron questions us about the hunt and we tell him about Ciri. He doesn't know anything about her, but offers up help in exchange for finding his family. Things play out mostly the same, but we have had an interaction with the hunt and lose the convenience of Ciri and Uma with the Baron. Next, we go to Novigrad. A number of things would change here, including the removal of Dream Lady and the Dopplers as a concept. Other things would move around here and there, but the important bit would be that an attack by the Wild Hunt leaves the city in panic. It would show just how determined and powerful the Hunt is, while once again adding an opportunity for character development. Next is Skellige. I would change almost all of this. Instead of Yen being a Hellraiser, we spend the time here tracking down the Jinn in order to wish for Ciri. We would also increase the length, add something with the hunt, and in the end we would find an unconscious Ciri, whom Yen decides to teleport to Kaer Morhen. The hunt knows where we went and tracks us there, which causes the battle that the writers so desperately want. We could even keep the stuff with Letho and Kreia because them being there was somewhat unrelated to the battle in the first place. Anyway, things pretty much go the same, except now Geralt doesn't have the chance to have the battle anywhere else, so Vesemir's death is more impactful. Ciri goes nuts and the Wild Hunt retreats. Then we are given the option to call on either Emir or Radovid to help us defeat the Hunt once and for all. The ensuing battle is between all three factions, making for a spectacular conclusion. We also leave out the tacked on White Frost segment and save it for the next game. Of course, none of this will ever happen now, especially since people seem to think that it is wonderful as it is now. It is better to write one's own stories than to try and fix what is fixed. That's a homonym, by the way. Now that I am done with the story, it is time to move on to the art and gameplay. It will be quicker going through these as I have fewer problems with them, but there are, however, still noteworthy issues.